Evolution is one of the most fascinating and endlessly debated topics in the scientific world. But despite its importance, there are still many things that people don't know about the process of evolution. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at 10 surprising facts about evolution that you probably haven't heard before. Evolution happens quickly as well as slowly. We often think of evolution as a slow, gradual process that takes place over millions of years. But in some cases, evolution can happen incredibly quickly. This phenomenon is known as rapid speciation, and it occurs when a population of animals becomes isolated from the main group and begins to evolve in a different direction. One example of rapid speciation is the case of the Galapagos finches, which were first studied by Charles Darwin during his voyage on the Beagle. Darwin observed that the finches on different islands had distinct beak shapes and sizes, which allowed them to specialize in different types of food. In just a few thousand years, the finches had evolved into 14 different species. Another example of rapid speciation is the case of the cichlid fish in African lakes. These fish have evolved into hundreds of different species in just a few million years, each with its own unique combination of characteristics, such as body shape, coloration, and feeding behavior. Not all animals evolve in the same way. Another surprising fact about evolution is that not all animals evolve in the same way. In fact, there are several different modes of evolution, each with its own unique characteristics. One mode of evolution is called anagenesis, in which a single line of descent undergoes changes over time. An example of this would be the gradual evolution of the horse from a small, dog-like creature to the large animal we know today. Another mode of evolution is called cladogenesis, in which a single lineage splits into two or more separate lineages. An example of this would be the evolution of birds from dinosaurs. A third mode of evolution is called convergent evolution, in which different lineages independently evolve similar characteristics. An example of this would be the wings of birds and bats, which have evolved independently but serve the same purpose of flight. Evolution is not always driven by natural selection. Another common misconception about evolution is that it is always driven by natural selection. But this is not the case. There are several other mechanisms that can drive evolution, including genetic drift and gene flow. Genetic drift is a random process that can change the frequency of certain genes in a population. It can occur when a small group of individuals becomes isolated from the main population, and the genetic makeup of the group starts to diverge from that of the main population. Gene flow is the movement of genes between populations, which can also influence the genetic makeup of a population. This can happen when individuals migrate from one population to another, or when gametes, sperm or eggs, are exchanged between populations. Some species never change. Another surprising fact about evolution is that some species never change over time. They are called living fossils, and they are species that have remained unchanged over millions of years. One well-known example is the coelacanth, a fish that was thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs, but was rediscovered in the wild in 1938. The coelacanth has remained virtually unchanged for over 400 million years. Another example is the horseshoe crab, which has remained unchanged for over 450 million years and still looks the same as it did when it first appeared in the fossil record. This goes to show that not all species are under constant pressure to change and evolve in response to their environment. Some species are perfectly adapted to their environment and don't require any further changes to survive. Evolution is not goal-oriented. Another common misconception about evolution is that it is a process that has a specific goal or end in mind. But in reality, evolution is a random process that is driven by genetic variation and the survival of the fittest. There is no direction or purpose to the process of evolution. It simply results in the survival of those organisms that are best suited to their environment. Hybridization is a form of evolution. Another surprising fact about evolution is that hybridization, or the crossing of two different species, can also drive the process of evolution. When two different species cross, they can produce offspring with a combination of characteristics from both parents. This can create new variations that can then be selected for or against by natural selection. Hybridization can also lead to the formation of new species through a process called sympatric speciation. The role of epigenetics in evolution. In recent years, scientists have discovered that evolution is not just about genetic changes, but also about epigenetic changes. Epigenetics refers to the way that genes are turned on and off, or regulated, in response to environmental factors. This process can lead to heritable changes in an organism that do not involve changes to the DNA sequence itself. This means that evolution can happen more rapidly than previously thought, and that organisms can adapt to changing conditions in a matter of generations, rather than eons. Evolutionary convergence. Another interesting aspect of evolution is the phenomenon of evolutionary convergence, in which different organisms that are not closely related evolve similar characteristics. An example of this would be the wings of bats, birds, and insects, which have evolved independently but serve the same purpose of flight. Another example of convergence is the streamlined body shape of sharks, dolphins, and ichthyosaur, an extinct marine reptile, which are not closely related but have evolved similar body shape for efficient swimming. This phenomenon illustrates that the same solution can evolve multiple times when organisms are under similar selective pressures. Human evolution. Finally, it's worth mentioning that human evolution is a complex and ongoing process. Humans have evolved over the course of millions of years, from our earliest ape-like ancestors to the modern humans we are today. But human evolution has not stopped, and we are still evolving today. Recent studies have shown that human evolution has accelerated in recent times, particularly in response to changes in diet, disease, and lifestyle. And we are evolving differently across different populations around the world. For example, people living in high-altitude regions have evolved to be more efficient at using oxygen, and people living in northern latitudes have evolved lighter skin to better absorb vitamin D from the sun. This goes to show that evolution is a dynamic process that is still happening, and will continue to happen. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.